What's going on, Metropolitans? The move is official. Joey Lucchesi has been outrighted to AAA Syracuse, and that just proves that the New York Mets are making positive big brain moves for the team. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But my name is Flobo Boyce, and thank you so much for locking in to Mets Digest, the newest and soon to be the greatest place for you to get all the Mets news and rumors you can handle and or stand. But we can't grow without your help. So if you're listening right now, you want to know more of what's happening down the pipe, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell a friend about the channel. Joey Lucchesi, we hardly knew ye, but welcome back on the same situation. Well, it looked like 7 days ago was going to be the end of Joey Lucchesi's tenure here at the New York Mets organization, but he has just been outright at Syracuse, which keeps him under the Mets umbrella. Of course, AAA is at the same thing as the majors, but that is pretty huge for a bunch of reasons, because Lucchesi is a serviceable arm, and definitely as we look for more left-handed arms, especially with the upcoming trade deadline, it was very, very plausible that Joey will be heading elsewhere. So just give a little bit of a step back here. When the Mets signed Phil Maton, we had a little bit of odd man out situation. Joey was that odd man out and was DFA'd. And I guess people just fell asleep at the wheel, because even though the season hadn't been the greatest for Joey, it was definitely something that you could definitely see him moving. And what I mean that his season wasn't the greatest, well, take a look at this. Pretty scant. And coming off the Tommy John surgery in 2022 and looking like he was going to be the answer to our pitching prayers in 23, he started off pretty late. And so all eyes were on him to see if he was going to get back to his previous season form, but 2024 wasn't that kind. I mean, that win-loss record doesn't even tally, but the one thing draws my eye straight up is that ERA of a monumental 10.38 and that FIP of 8.01. So ERA, usually you don't want to be above 3. 4 is okay in some cases. And FIP, I mean, if you look at Seth Lugo's FIP, the current ace of the Kansas City Royals and formerly New York Mets pitcher, the Puerto Rican, as we used to call him, his FIP is like half that. So 2024 wasn't the greatest for the New York Mets. But the thing is, we didn't have many left-handers to burn. If you think about Jake Diekman is the only one in the bullpen now, and you and I both know that guy makes me sweat when it comes to it. So I understand the team had to have made the move just based on those numbers. But what happens now is that now he's been outrighted over to Syracuse, and that really gives us a lot of room to play with it. And here's a reason why. There's a whole different thing when it comes to service time and what that means for a team. I want you to check this out. This one here comes from Steve Adams over there at MLBTradeRumors.com. Let me just do a little bit of a move there. Lucchesi has more than 3 years of big league service time and thus has the right to reject the assignment in favor of free agency. But he's still a couple months shy of the 5 years of service he'd need to retain the remainder of his $1.65 million salary upon rejecting an outright. As such, he'll likely accept and head back to Syracuse, where he's already spent the bulk of his 2024 season. So the Mets essentially have themselves in a situation of what exactly do you do, right? Because if you had waited too long, Lucchesi could have rejected the outright assignment, go into free agency, and you let that arm walk. An arm that we nursed back to health with that Tommy John surgery in 2022. But also, if you put him in that DFA zone, a team's not going to pick up Lucchesi for that 2 or couple weeks or just shy of that full service time where he could just walk away, elect free agency, and that new team would have been on the hook for that $1.65 million salary that was owed to him. So the Mets really are playing 3D chess here. being able to have someone saying, look, we have to make room for Maton. We have to make room for our new pitching options. And so, at the same time, by putting him in a situation where it wouldn't be even desirable to pick up, to risk having to eclipse that salary, you got Lucchesi right back onto the roof in Syracuse. And there's a lot of options in Syracuse as far as the pitching staff. We've been trying them out. You know, Christian Scott has been making some appearances currently on the big league rotation, had some outings in May, was sent back down to AAA around the London Series tour against the Phillies, and is now back in the rotation. But if you look at left-hander options on the 40-man roster right now, you have Matt Gage, Josh Wallner, and Alex Young. That's only 3 arms in a whole pool of right-handed arms. And currently, on the Major League roster is Jake Diekman and Danny Young. Danny Young has been a serviceable hand, not too great, not too spectacular, but someone who can eat a couple of innings, and it's something you may need, but definitely not the first long relief option or setup option. And again, we mentioned Jake Diekman before. Jake is in his age 37 season and has not looked this shaky in so long. Not saying that Lucchesi is going to be the answer. He's not going to come out from Syracuse and be thunder and single-handedly win us a bunch of games, especially if you take a look at his 2024 numbers. But this right here gives an option that's actually pretty much above average. And that's what you need, whether or not you're going to build or rebuild that bullpen or trade for more pieces. As we get closer to the trade deadline, as I record this is the All-Star break. We're in the middle of it. It's looking more and more apparent that the Mets are either going to be outright buyers or buy/tweakers. I get that. And so if you don't want to ship off Lucchesi, again, what you can do is have him as an anchor and use it as a piece for something greater as the weeks roll on. We've talked about the pitching and how it's just been dreadful. We've seen games being given up in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. I don't have the actual quote here, but I remember on one of the SNY broadcasts, Gary, Keith, and Ron has said the Mets this season so far has an ERA of over 6 in the last 2 innings of a game. Over 6. And there's a lot of reasons why that is. You could talk about Edwin Diaz's crisis of conscience with his confidence and the sticky stuff and playing a man down, or the moving chairs without having a true setup person, or the regression of guys like Adam Ottavino. So something needs to be put in to right that ship. But you don't ship off Lucchesi, someone who's having a down half year, but has a bit more upside where you're still trying to figure out your plan. If you get a whole army of aces, then yes, you can get rid of the extra fat. But to be able to do this maneuver, to have Lucchesi in AAA Syracuse, knowing full well you're still in kind of a season transition, is actually a smart move, not only for Joey, not only for the Mets, but kind of a good sign of how active the front office has been this season thus far. I think a whole front office ago, maybe even 2 front offices ago, there will be a bunch of bad decisions we would have just ridden out because, we're only 3 games above 500. But also we've seen in the past couple of years, teams can get hot in August and September. Why not us? Why not stake ourselves in the lottery? And this might be a bold prediction. Lucchesi may be on that playoff roster if we make it thus far. Just putting it out there. Hey, if you got to the end of the video, thank you so much. Like we said, hit up that subscribe button. We're a brand new channel. We're trying to grow the brand for the Orange and Blue Mets Digest. Tell a friend. And in the comments below, are you a fan of Joey Lucchesi? Are you glad he's still a Metropolitan? You let us know, and we'll definitely contact you in those comments in the next couple of days. My name is Flobo Boyce. You're locked into Mets Digest. Thanks for watching.